Cho sampo pa gyu tra shi pa tu che tempe trin le yar da pelge drolor zampe te parche palden lame shabla solvade Omo a Guru Vajradhara Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om a Guru Vajradhara Nisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhar Suma Timu Nisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Suma Timu Nisha Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhar Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhar Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajra Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajra Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Dhagi Jitsun Lama Tuje Che Nyamda Dala Tuje Siksu So Gebe Shesan Dala Tendu So Uyon Sunge Nawa Tsedu So Tseje Nine Sowa Debe Tse Techen Korlo Visu Lekshu Ne Yila Sambe Dede Malupa Gemel Hungi Drubra Jinge Lo Tsoni Sodan Dikdun Shape Tse Dinge Namke Yinsu Lekshu Ne Lapchen Tsoni Yonsu Zopada Chera nye tuen chanra jinge lo chancho parge ninsen tukun to Niwe peme siudru lekshu ne chancho drube gegen kunshi shi Tingen de la drubra jinge lo dagi lo na chola chopa dang Kemi samchur ngenpa shiwa dang Kedan tumbe dede malu pa beme lungi drubra jinge Dorna tingne tsira tamche dang techi pardu ne kaw tamche tun Rese kyamne lama kele me tukche chingi dala siksu so Gongyab drewe nyamda da chala chetun lame tukche rabgongne Kudan sungi nawa drame tu nyamsu nyongwe kesan tobrasho Kewa kundu yanda lama dan drame chiki pela longche chi Dada lamge yende rabzo ne Dorche changi koba nyur tobe shum Pakyuke kudan dagi lo, pakyuke sondan dagi nga, pakyuke tudan dagi yi, ten yerme chiktu jingi lo, makyuke kudan dagi lo, makyuke sondan dagi nga, makyuke tudan dagi, ten yerme chiktu jingi lo. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Sangye chedan soge chanam la chancho pardo dani kyapsu che dagi chinso gibe sonamgi rola penchira sangye drupar Sangye chedan soge chanam la chancho pardo dani kyapsu che dagi chinso gibe sonamgi Rola pinchira sangye druparisho Sangye chedan tsogi chonamla Chancho pardo dani kyapsu chi Dagi jinso gibe sonamgi Rola pinchira sangye druparisho. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfection, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. So, today, we continue the text of Lama Tsongkhapa. It actually makes me very joyful to be able to go through this text these days because many reasons, but one is a text that I always liked. And then I requested teachings of the text in Tibet 2 years ago. And then after that, after receiving the teachings and the transmission from the abbot of Tashilumpo in Tibet, Losang, Rinpoche, then we had the translation of the text done here by Michel, our great Lotsawa translator. And then after that, we had the English corrected, revealed, and so on. And now as we are going through the text, we are once again checking the text again. But one of the main reasons why it makes me happy is because our objective of practicing Dharma is not of learning, not the objective of becoming well-learned people on Buddhist philosophy. Sure, it's good to have knowledge, but that's not enough. That's not our main goal. Our main goal is not just to say, okay, I want to have a very good, degree or whatever in Buddhism, and I will I have all the knowledge of the philosophy and so on. Yes, that's useful, but it's like when I arrived in the monastery, one of my teachers, Gyaltsen, he told me one day that, oh, Lama, I'm happy that you are here. I'm happy that you are studying well. But remember one thing. Everything that you learn here, it comes with one purpose. That it should help you to mold your mind. Semla sopta soya, he said in Tibetan. Semla sopta soya. Sem means mind, sopta means shape. So means to make. To shape your mind in a positive way. That's the only reason why you should study everything you study here. That if you do not use the knowledge you have to mold your mind, to shape your mind, then he told me, then it's better you go to study engineering, computer sciences, medicine, anything else that can help you to find a job at least. Because the only reason why you study Buddhism is to shape your mind. No other way, no other reason. There is no other use for that knowledge. Okay? It's true. So, these questions that Lama Tsongkhapa is bringing to us, they are really like going to the practice, going directly to the point, what we need to understand. But not only understand, what's like, he's really touching the point. And this is something very precious. So, so many centuries have passed, and here we are still being able to listen the words of Lama Tsongkhapa and the words of Panchen, Losang, and Gyaltsen that later gave the answers. And we have this through an uninterrupted lineage of transmission. So it's something very precious, which makes me very, very happy. And not only we have this, but there is also the very special opportunity that we are here sharing it with faith, with love, and then I am here to explain in the best of my abilities. You are here all these days listening with care, with attention. So all conditions are quite rare, actually, if we put everything together. So all of this makes me very happy. Today, actually, I wanted to go back to question number 1 for the specific reason that we have finished. The text is divided into 3 parts, which is called, in Tibetan we call Tagom Chusum, which is view, meditation, and behavior or conduct. Okay? So all our practice of Dharma, all the teachings of Buddha can be divided into these 3 subjects, which is the part of daily conduct, the part regarding meditation, how to meditate correctly, and the part regarding the correct view of reality. All the teachings of Buddha can be divided into these 3 parts. Okay? And what is said normally also is that most of the religions, the part of conduct is very, very similar. It's not the same, but it's very, very similar. The part of meditation also, especially if we take the religions that were in India, the part of meditation also, it's similar, not the same, no? As there is this saying in Tibetan which I like. If it's similar, it's because it's different. No? If something is similar, by definition, it's different. No? So, when we say that it's very similar, it means that it's different. So, anyhow, the part of meditation is similar, and the part which mostly differs from the old religions in India and Buddhism and from other religions is the part of the view, which is the correct view of reality. When we take the part of conduct, many, many, many aspects are extremely similar. Then the part of meditation, many parts are similar. At least nowadays in the West, we don't have so much that part of meditation being taught by the religions here, but in the East, yes. And the part of the view is the part which is mostly different. Okay? The first part of the text, from question 1 to question 27, regards the part of conduct. Then after that, we go to the part of meditation, and finally there is the part of view, which for us beginners, the first part that we need to start with is conduct. That's the first part. Conduct, it means a conduct of body, speech, and mind. It's how to behave, how to think, how to speak, how to act in our daily life, in order to bring us gradually to a path of no more suffering, to the path of nirvana, to the path of enlightenment. How to behave in our daily life in accordance with the teachings of Buddha. So this is the first part, which is called conduct. It's the most easy part, but at the same time very, very, very important. Okay? But it's not because it's the easy, okay, let's go to the most difficult. I know that we all like very advanced things. But sometimes if you do not have the basis, the advanced become empty. Like if we go directly to the part of wisdom and meditation and wisdom without having the conduct, like if we take a wing and we make a wing very beautiful and sharp and perfect, one wing, but we forget about the other. Then we try to fly, and we are not able. And we are still looking to that wing and saying, oh, the problem is on this wing, there's something wrong, I am not flying. And we forget that they need two wings. Okay? So we need a conduct. And then we need meditation and view, which actually goes together somehow. Okay? Which means method, conduct, meditation and view, wisdom. So these two parts need to go together in our life. But the first step is the part of conduct. And one other reason, so I would like today and tomorrow to review this 27 questions without going into details, otherwise it would take another 15 days. But we will just go quickly through them. We will make a review of these 27 questions so we can keep them better in mind. Okay? Also because if we start now question 28, it is I will just read it so you can see that I think it will take a long time. Okay, just to have a little taste of it. What is mental laxity? What is mental laxity? Qingwan. Which is one of the obstacles of developing that karma binding? Is mental dullness the same or is it different? If it were the same, how would you refute the fact that Arya, Asanga, and so forth identify them both individually? If they were not the same, how would you differentiate the two of them? And like this, here we go on, which it enters actually talking about the different aspects of meditative state itself. Okay, so it's like question 28 will start talking about meditation and the state of meditation and what is mental dullness and mental laxity and mental agitation and what's the subtleness between them. What are the steps in order to develop a correct concentration of karma binding? What's the difference between karma binding and supreme view? Like there are many, many different points which are coming here, quite subtle, okay? Which they become extremely clear in the moment that we sit down and do meditate a lot. If we don't do that, then all of these are just words. Okay? So we will go through this part of the text, not today. Okay? We'll go back to question number 1, and we'll make a review of the first 27 questions. Okay? So we go back to question number 1. Chir sangye gi chogi pumbo geti shitong. Chir sangye gi chogi pumbo geti shitong. Tamche gi gak dilwe gomba. Tesa te kan yin she trina. What is the reason for rolling the important points of all the 84,000 bundles of teachings of Buddha taught in general into one? So, the question is, if we take all the teachings of Buddha and we put them into one, what is the objective of all Buddha's teachings? Because we don't have like one main book of Buddha. No? We have 108 volumes. Okay? And Buddha gave teachings in so many different ways for people of so many different abilities. So there are many teachings that they even seem very contradictory. If we take teachings from the Hinayana, then we take the Mahayana, then we go to the Vajrayana, we can find things that look very contradictory between each other, actually. But what is, if we take all the teachings and we put them together, what's the main goal of all the teachings put together? Why are they taught? Why Buddha taught all these teachings? What's the reason for all the teachings? It doesn't matter which one it is, okay? And then Panchen Rinpoche answers. I'm just going to jump some part of the question. Gyawe chopon gete dan shiton sumbe gongte sangi niba ludrugi tangbor ngompar töbe che chini ngebar lek chungwa kangchir ngompar tö tope rimgi ngebar lek pa on shebe töntu dagi kum. Answer one by Panchen Rinpoche. The aim of the victorious intention of teaching the 84,000 volumes of Dharma is, as the second Buddha Nagarjuna commented, first the Dharma for the high stages, and later that of the definitive goodness was taught. For somebody who attains the rebirth of high status, there will be the definitive goodness for him gradually. This is the meaning of what I have comprehended. Which means, high status here means a good rebirth. Okay? To be well in samsara, let's say that. Okay? We have not yet gone out of the cycle of suffering, but at least to have a rebirth where we don't have too much suffering, where we have some sort of stability, where we have the possibility to have inner space in order to practice the Dharma. This is what is called a high status within this realm of existence. Second, but the main objective of Buddha's teachings is what? It's for us to develop ourselves spiritually, to get completely out of the cycle of suffering. So it doesn't matter any teaching that we may look for. All the teachings come exactly with the same objective. That is, helping sentient beings, us, to get out of momentary suffering and get out of ultimate suffering. Which means, having a high status means getting out of the suffering momentarily. And having what we call the enlightenment, in this case, means at least to find nirvana, to get out of suffering completely, or to develop our qualities to their maximum potential to help all sentient beings. So, any teachings of Buddha, they all have the same objective. And the description that is given also for this, like we say, the path that Buddha taught was one. The vehicles are many. The path is one. You can go by bicycle, you can go by car, you can take a helicopter, you can go in many different ways. But the path is one. You can go walking, you can go in many different ways. You can take a car for some parts, then you can go by bicycle, then you can take a walk. You can do it in many different ways, but the path is one. The path is the path of development of our own qualities and elimination of our own defilement in order to get out of the cycle of suffering and to help others. That's the path. That's the objective. There are many methods that we can use on this path. And these are the so-called vehicles. But all the vehicles, they follow the same path. This is the first thing, the first question here. Why? Because very often it was seen like if we have different teachings of Buddha and different traditions, looks like we're going on different paths. No. Everything is bringing exactly on the same path. So we can have different traditions, different approaches. It can look very different in many ways. But what is the actual path? To develop love, compassion, wisdom, generosity, stability, joy, to eliminate anger, jealousy, pride, miserliness, selfishness, ultimately ignorance, and to help others. That's the main thing. That's the path. Even if we make a new tradition in which we don't use the name Buddha, and instead of Buddha we make the tradition of Mickey Mouse, whatever, okay? If it works, welcome. If it would bring people to have, whoever will practice the religion of Mickey Mouse, if that will bring people to have more love and compassion and wisdom and less anger and jealousy and pride and ignorance and so on, welcome.
It's a different vehicle for the same path. Okay? So the path here is not being Buddhist and having the little membership card, I am Buddhist. Okay? Or being part of the group Buddhist. That's not the point. This is also another very important point of this text, which we said in the first teaching. The thing is not being part of a group. The thing is not saying, I am Buddhist, or I am this, or I am that. That's not the point. The point is really following a path, and a path is an inner process of transformation. And Lama Tsongkhapa starts the text saying, it doesn't matter what is your religion. It doesn't matter what is your tradition of Buddhism. If you really want to follow the path to enlightenment correctly, please answer me this question. I don't care what's the name you give for your tradition. You can give any name for your tradition. You can follow any approach. But if you really want to practice correctly, if you really want to follow the path correctly, we are all following the same path. So please answer me this question. So it goes beyond the sectarian view of, oh, I am. Because very often, something that happens is that how to say, it's much more strong, the feeling of being part of something than actually understanding what it is. In other words, sometimes I see people relating to religion as they would relate to a soccer team. Okay? I am Buddhist, you are not. Already said. Then I am Gelupa, you are Nyingmapa, you are Kargyupa, you are Sakyapa, you are Bompo, whatever. Then you go and you ask, but why are you Gelupa? Most people have no idea. Or why are you of this tradition? Why are you of that tradition? Most people don't know. I ask this many times actually, even to monks and everywhere. Like the same thing, can you say, oh, why do you want this soccer team or that soccer team? Is there a logical answer for any of these questions? No. So, the point is that we are not here to be part of a tradition. Sure, we end up being part of a tradition because we need to follow in a coherent way. As Atisha said in the Bodhisattva, in the jewel garland of the Bodhisattva, respect every tradition and follow the one you prefer with dedication. Because there is a coherence in the teachings that we need to follow. But at the same time, we need really to be open and not just to feel like, okay, I am part of. You need to be careful not to fall into this trap of attachment of being part of a group or something like this. So sure, what does it mean to be Buddhist? It means to follow Buddha's teachings in our daily life. Take refuge in Buddha's teachings. What it means to follow a tradition, to follow that path according to the teachings of that tradition. Wonderful. But there is no reason why I need to feel superior to another tradition, or I need to treat someone with aversion or anything like that. Okay? So, the point here is, it doesn't matter how we call our tradition, any of Buddha's teachings. It doesn't matter how we call all the practice that we follow. The important thing is, what are we following? And all Buddha's teachings have been taught with only one intention, which is to take us out of suffering. So are we going on the right path? Is it taking me to have less anger, less jealousy, less pride, less mindfulness, more love and compassion and wisdom and so on? Is it working on that direction? This means I am on the correct vehicle, following the right path. Okay. Well, second question. Tena, shinso wa kebe, dek shinto mikpa, shenla chik ne tamsa, chik ne gomna, chinyor yonsa, yonsa yoba te kanyin. Therefore, what is there? What is there where there is more impact when it is meditated on from another approach of a strict meditation, like the technique of an expert carpenter lifting his tool with more effect? Shinso kebe chulde di tardo shukra kebe tap gyaltsa tambe sumba shin tamche kemba rangni kyang dukten nyemi masamna tardo chishi mike sung korwe nyemi gyasembe korwe nyega sembe tul mang yang dungal gi jikna tardo chuknang ye sakche tsorwa dewa le yi jung chi ro palang chi tena duche rangshingi sakche nyerlen pungbodi dunga drupdan drubene nedan dredan sungutar migne gomna chingyo la. Okay, I will go directly to the meaning, okay? Because I was just wondering if I start reading again all the questions and all the answers, it will take another 10 days at least. So I will just go directly to the meaning. The question is, okay, but to follow this path, to get out of suffering, what is the main tool that we have in the beginning? Like if we take a good carpenter and he needs to lift something very heavy, there are some tools that can be used in order without making so much effort as possible to lift a very high weight. So, what is the main tool in meditation that we should start with in order really to follow this path correctly? And the answer that is given is that the main tool that we have in the beginning is to recognize the all-pervasive suffering. Because basically, every one of us, okay, everyone, doesn't matter who, we have a very, very, very strong instinct, intention. That is, we don't want to suffer. We want to be happy. That's natural in all of us, okay? So what is called the suffering of suffering, which is physical suffering, mental suffering, nobody wants it. And we are always trying to do our best. It doesn't matter where we go in the world. What is most people constantly trying to do? People and animals and every form of life? Avoid suffering and gain pleasure. That's what everyone is constantly doing. But what is the result? As we constantly try to avoid suffering and to gain pleasure, is it working? Is there a moment in which we say, okay, look, work hard, but then there is a moment where everything will be fine? Like Walt Disney? And they lived happily forever and ever? Is there such a thing? That we go there and we work hard in order to eliminate our suffering and here and there, and finally, okay, there we are, there is, at least someone got there. Do we have any example at least of someone who managed it? I have never found that. So, then we go to the second level of suffering, which is, okay, even what we call pleasure finally is in the nature of suffering, because the more I have it, the more I need of it, and finally it's never enough. But the main point which Buddha brought to us, and which Lama Tsongkhapa remembers with Panchen Rinpoche here, is we need to understand that this main suffering that we have is not what we call normally suffering. It's the fact that our body and mind, our mind most of all, our aggregate, which is our mind, our identity, our self, we are polluted with ignorance, and consequently with selfishness, consequently with anger, with jealousy, with fear, with miserliness, and all of this. And that's why we suffer. It doesn't matter how much we try to create perfect conditions around us. It's never going to be enough until we do not create a perfect condition within us. It doesn't matter. I can have the most beautiful house alone by myself or with the company that I want. I can create everything that I want outside. Everything can be there. Money, houses, transport, car, aeroplanes, helicopters, boats, motorbikes, whatever you want. People. What type of people I want? How do I want them? Pleasures. All the types of pleasures that you can imagine or not imagine about. Okay? Everything we can create around us. It's not going to be enough to make us satisfied. It's not going to be enough for what? to sustain our satisfaction. I'm sorry to say, but that's the truth. Why? Because our mind is polluted by selfishness, insatisfaction, anger, aversion, miserliness, arrogance, ignorance, finally. So, if we understand this, then we say, okay, what do I need to do? I must get out of suffering. But what do I mean by get out of suffering? It means eliminating my own selfishness, eliminating my own anger, jealousy, pride, miserliness, ultimately my own ignorance. That's what I need to do. I need to develop more love and patience and stability and compassion and wisdom. That's what I need to do. So this is the main point of meditation. Otherwise, we can use the spiritual methods, like taught in Buddhism, for mundane reasons. Many of us do that. Many of us will sit down to meditate, and we will go and receive the initiation. And what is our objective? Oh, I have a problem of relationship, Rinpoche, please do something, bless me, please, Guya Samaja, Bhatta Yogini, Dorje Shukden, whoever, I have the problem because my husband is like this, my wife is like that, because I need a boy, I need a girl, because my body have this problem, because my job have that problem, because this is like this, because that is like that. So finally what we are doing, we are using a spiritual method for a mundane reason. Why? Because we are not able to see suffering deeply. We are only able to see the superficial aspect of suffering. So what we just want to get out of that superficial aspect of suffering. When we understand that suffering is much deeper, and it is in the fact that our mind and body are polluted by anger, attachment, jealousy, envy, miserliness, selfishness, ultimately ignorance. When we understand that, then that's our objective. That's when we say, it doesn't matter how much I try, I can change partner 15,000 times. I can change house, I can change job, I can change so many things. If I do not eliminate my own selfishness, my anger, my jealousy, my pride, my miserliness, and so on, momentarily it would look things go well. Then what happened afterwards? Things just go back as before. Again suffering, again problem. So here, Panchen Rinpoche and Lama Tsongkhapa are saying, please reflect upon the essence of suffering, which is not just the superficial aspect of this is not good, that is not good. In other words, don't try to create a perfect world around you. Remember that you need to create a perfect world inside of you. That's, in essence, the second question and answer. Okay? So, more technically speaking, we need to meditate on the all-pervasive suffering. That's very, very important. Very often we don't talk about that, we forget about it, we don't give so much importance. But it's the most important aspect at the beginning of our path. Understand and reflect upon the all-pervasive suffering, which is our own mind and body, our aggregates, our self, our identity, polluted by mental defilements and negative karma. That's it. Okay? And until we don't change that, there will be suffering. Even if momentarily it may stop. And after what happened? It comes back again. But we are very short-minded. You know, sometimes I think we look like these little fishes on a bowl. You know that the fish has a very short memory, right? I don't remember how long it can last, like something like 30 seconds or something like this. It's the memory of a fish. Okay? Luckily for him, because he feels all the time in his little bowl, you know, at least 30 seconds he goes around the aquarium, and then he finishes one turn, then he goes, oh, look what a place. Then he goes again, you know. It's always something new. It's like no such a long memory. Somehow, you know, if we compare to a Buddha, we are like a little fish. Because how many times have we gone through the same problem with different names and colors? And when we go through it again, what do we want? Simply for it to end into a perfect, beautiful situation, and then everything will be fine. But how many times have we experienced that it's not like that? That we are able momentarily to stop it, to fix it, and then after what happens? It comes back again. But why it comes back again? because the real cause have not changed. If it doesn't matter which situations I go, I always have the same suffering finally. What's the only common thing in all of these situations? Me. My mind. I can change body, I can change country, I can change job, but if I don't change my mind, if I don't change my deep habits, things will just continue the same. Okay? So it's very important for us to reflect deeply upon the all-pervasive suffering. Okay? So, just concluding, the fact here is that we need to be very careful not to use spiritual methods for mundane reasons. We can use, actually, to be sincere, it's better to use a spiritual method for mundane reasons than using a mundane method for mundane reasons. That's okay. But we should not undermine the spiritual method and use it only for mundane reasons. This we should not use. And sometimes, if we look, I'm sorry if I say this, before I said in Italian, I didn't say in English, but I'm sorry if I put it in this way. But let's take for instance that we would go to people here, everyone, and we'll say, okay, here, I give you a possibility. Okay? You give completely Dharma, give up completely the Dharma. No more teachings, no more meditations, no more all this stuff about Buddhism and Dharma and so on. But I can give you in exchange perfect conditions of happiness in this life. You will have the husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever you want in the bay exactly how you want it. When you want to change your oath, right away you get what you want also. The house of your dream, everything you want, the external conditions, everything perfect. No problem. And it would last, at least for the end of this life. You will be happy. At least for the end of this life, you will have everything, you will be happy. How many people would say, yes, thank you, I take it? Many, 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 many. And those that would say no is because they don't believe, they think it's a trick. Most of the time. Why? Because we mostly think about superficial suffering. We have very short-sighted. With very difficulty, we are able to think on a middle, long term. Short term means now. Middle term means to the end of this life. Long term means from life to life. How many people can think really long term? Very difficult. So what happens basically is that we need to be careful to use the Dharma. Sure, also we need to take care of the health, and we need to take care of our relationships, and we need to have nice conditions in our life. All of this, it's okay, but that's just one part. But really remember to use the Dharma in order to eliminate selfishness, to eliminate ignorance, to develop love and compassion and wisdom, because that's the most important part. If we have that, all the rest will come naturally. All the rest will come spontaneously. If not, we'll continue to be trapped in suffering. Okay? So for that, we need to understand suffering in a deeper level in order to generate the intention to get out. It's like if we have a sickness that is coming on our skin. So whenever I go in a place that is hot or whatever, many conditions, I have this pain coming on my skin. Then I find out some creams that help. So finally, I'm always changing creams and looking for creams in order to take away the pain from my skin. Okay. But in the moment that I understand that the pain is actually coming because there is a virus, I still can use the cream because I don't like feeling the pain. But I need to do something very strongly to eliminate the virus. Okay? We still can take care of this life, and we should. It's okay. But we need to take care of the virus, which is selfishness and ignorance. That's what we need to remember. We need to focus on that. Okay? We go to the next questions. Otherwise, I wanted to review the questions, and I'm now just going through the whole thing again. Okay. Question number 3. Menga gi tu gi gongna taona korwa dile rangre nam tarwar chebe tap tamba char gyawe songbe chikcho chantup ngo sheba te kanyin dacha stile tarpe tap tambar chada nge songna gyawe songba chikcho gi chantul hakpe lapsum la. The question goes and say, okay, but to get out of samsara, what is the technique that we can have? What is the tools that we should use to get out of samsara? To recognize one's own suffering deeply is to develop the wish to get out of suffering deeply. But once we have this wish, what are the techniques that we have? What are the tools that we have in our hands? Okay? In all Buddha's teachings, the tools condense into three, which are called the three higher trainings, which is to train ourselves. And the word three higher trainings are so important because it's not something that we gain and then I have it and then it's done. I need to train myself within it. So in order for us to get out of suffering deeply, we need to train ourselves in three things: morality, concentration, and wisdom. Which is actually the same thing that we said before: conduct, meditation, and view. Morality and conduct is basically the same. Meditation and concentration is basically the same. And view and wisdom is the same. Okay? So all the training of Buddha's teachings, where do we need to train ourselves? First of all, we need to train ourselves in morality. What does that mean? Morality literally means, in Tibetan we call sem sung. Sem means mind, sung means protection. It means to protect ourselves from our own negative behaviors. In other words, means, one, there are three types of morality that we need to put into practice, which is to avoid negative actions. Once we recognize what is harmful for ourselves and others, we need to abandon it, we need to avoid it. To accomplish positive actions, once we recognize what is beneficial for ourselves and others, we need to accomplish it, we need to cultivate it. And the third point is to benefit others. So morality basically is avoiding negative actions, accomplishing positive actions, and benefiting others. That's where morality resides. But morality is the fact that this will not come spontaneously to me. Are there behaviors that I know that are harmful for myself and others and still I want to have? Are there attitudes of body, speech, and mind that I know that are harmful, but sometimes I want to do? That's why we need morality. Like, is it good to criticize other people? Is there any benefit in it? No. So in the moment that I start criticizing someone, what I do? I bite my tongue. Don't do it. Because I have the commitment not to criticize others. I will not do it. Is it difficult? Yes. If it was easy, we would all be enlightened. But is it easy to remain in our own samsaric world and with suffering and miserliness and arrogance and so on? Is the result easy? No. Sure, we need to put effort in order to keep a good morality, in order to avoid what we know is harmful, in order to accomplish what we know is positive. For example, to meditate every day, is it beneficial? Does anybody have any doubt about it? So, let's do it. Is it easy? Also not. Then, so what? Since when has life been easy? So morality means, I know it's good, I will do it. I know it's bad, I will avoid it. That's the main point of morality. Because our transformation comes through shaping ourselves, and that comes through repetition. By avoiding an action, slowly, it becomes easier and easier to avoid that negative action. By cultivating a positive behavior, slowly, it becomes easier and easier to repeat that attitude again and again. So in that way, we need to direct ourselves. Okay? The first training is morality. avoiding negative actions, accomplishing positive actions, benefiting others. The second point is concentration. We need to train ourselves into concentration, train ourselves into sitting down, keeping our mind in a state of balance in order to be able to look within ourselves, to direct our mind. That's a training. And the third point is wisdom. It's a change of paradigm, changing the way how we see and relate to reality. To see and relate to reality in a coherent way for what reality actually is. So these are the three higher training, which is the main tool we have in order to get out of suffering. Morality, concentration, and wisdom. Okay? So we have these three important tools to get out of suffering, which Buddha gave to us. Morality, concentration, and wisdom. But to have the tools and not use them is like not having them. Okay, I can have a beautiful room full of tools. But if I never use them, it's like not having. Or like having many books and never reading them. What's the point of having the book? No? More or less the same. Anyhow, luckily we have these tools. Let's go to the next question, 1 minute. Tena yangon to rangre nam korwa dir kerwa chebe gyu tsowo ngoshi tarto rangi ngo singobe te tabo gyawe sombate kan yin. Korwar kewe tsawa ni luchen kungi rangyu ki nga da nga yi war mikne tokpe takza mayimba teme treba zimbayi danzin lenke namni tes nyomo chengi maripawo zetar gyawe son la kya nga da nga ratse nga ipa luchen korwe korshe sons toni dunjo bale kya. Okay. Next question. Well then, but what is the main cause of suffering? What is the root of all suffering? And how to recognize it? Let me The important thing here is that we need to understand what's the root of all suffering and how to see it, how to recognize it. So what's the root of suffering? Panchen Rinpoche answers it. The root of all suffering is ignorance. Okay? What does it mean by ignorance? Ignorance literally in Sanskrit we say avidya. A means no, vid means to see, not seeing. Okay? So ignorance means us not being able to see reality as it is. But the important thing here is that I'm not going to go into details about this right now, okay? Otherwise, we go into dinner time. But the important thing is that ignorance, we can go to the whole concept of ignorance. What is ignorance? Okay, ignorance means that phenomena appears to us as if they were a bit solid, and we grasp at it in that way, and so on, making it very, very, very short. If we look around ourselves, the reality in which we live, the world in which we live, the reality around us, is it objective or is it subjective? If I take these flowers, are they objective or subjective? Subjective. Each one of us will see them differently, give a different name and meaning and so on, okay? Now, when we look at the flowers spontaneously, how do they appear to us? As being subjective or objective? Objective. So the fact that we see the subjective reality as objective, that's our ignorance. Okay? And out of that comes selfishness, and out of that comes anger and jealousy and pride and miserliness and all the rest. But the important point that I want to bring here is that we can go and we can reflect upon the correct view of reality and understand that all phenomena are interdependent and understand that actually ignorance is the main cause of suffering and understand that ignorance is the grasping at inherent existence and not seeing phenomena as being interdependent as they are. And we can go on and understand all of this beautifully. But we still can be very far away from seeing the cause of suffering. Because the cause of suffering is not ignorance, the grasping at inherent existence somewhere in the middle of the sky. It's inside of us. I must be able to see my ignorance. I must be able to look upon myself, look within, and see how do I relate to reality? How do phenomena appear to me? Through my own experience. Not to understand the concept of ignorance is nice, but it's not so useful, finally. It's useful if we apply it. What we need is that we need to see our own ignorance. We need to see how do I grasp to reality. Like in the text, Panchen Rinpoche, Lama Tsongkhapa says, it's like when you want to catch a thief. And it's not enough to say, oh, he is a man. And he's young. And he's a monk, is the example that was given. No? How many young men monks we have? Here, not so many, but if you go to the monastery where the teachings were given. So many. Is this enough to catch a thief? What do we need? We need to give a name to him. And we need to be able to point the finger and say, there you are. You say, oh, ignorance is the grasping of inherent existence. It's to see all phenomena as solid, as independent, and so on. Beautiful words, nice, wonderful, necessary. But we are not able to point the finger inward and see our own ignorance. That's the root of suffering. It's our own ignorance. It's not the concept of ignorance. So, in other words, it's very important for us to recognize the poison in order to be able to apply the medicine. If I don't see where is the darkness, I cannot apply the light. If I do not understand the problem, I cannot apply a solution. Okay? And the cause of suffering is my suffering, our suffering. Where is the cause? It's inside. So I need to see it. So it's actually very beautiful to be able to see our own shadow. So when we can see our darkness, we can apply light into it. Because we know where is the shadow. Otherwise, we can develop, we study the Dharma and we practice and we make a powerful light. And we're always pointing where there is already light. And then we complain that we never change and we never get better. If we don't take the light and we direct it where is darkness, which is not so easy because we don't like to see dark. We don't like to see our own shadows. We don't like to see our own poison. So very often we like the medicine just for the medicine. But no, I can have a medicine and it's so nice to have the medicine. But what happens when I put the medicine where is the sickness? It's painful sometimes. It's not so pleasurable. But that's when it becomes true medicine. Otherwise it's just some substance, whatever. So the root of suffering is within ourselves. And is to recognize, we need to see, we need to recognize within ourselves, which is by observing our mind, we need to be able to see how do I see reality. Okay, all these beautiful, wonderful teachings, how do they apply to my life? When I look at the flowers, at this object in front of me, how do they appear to me? As being independent, as existing by its own characteristics, as being there, as looking even permanent to myself? Or do they appear as being interdependent, constantly transforming phenomena that depends on the imputation of the main name, being nothing more, nothing less than a collection of parts to which I attribute the name and function? No. We don't see it like that. It appears to us as being something solid. So we need to see our ignorance and then we need to say, oh, but it's not like that. What am I doing? Like when there is some sort of a part of reality, okay? Let's say we come here to the Gompa and then we look at the walls and we say, oh, what a beautiful painting. How long it took to paint all of this? Some people made me this question. So one time, one person was bringing a group in here. And then he said, oh, Lama Michel did this Gompa and all the paintings. Someone told them that I did it. They say, oh, he's not only a good teacher of Dharma, he's also a very good painter. Look at everything that he painted, And I'm not able, if I make a drawing, it's like a 5-year-old drawing, I really don't know how to draw and paint at all. So, then I come and it looks like a real painting. I believe it is a real painting. And actually at a certain point I go nearby and I start touching and then I start seeing and I see, oh, actually it's not a painting. It's a very good technique where the ink is applied to the wall. Okay. Like that. But first I need to see the ignorance in order to change it. And once I'm able to go there and I see, okay, I believe it is real painting. Until the moment I don't see my own belief that it's real painting, I will never be able to change that mind. Then I can go and I can get nearby and I can say, oh, it's not real painting. Oh, that mind that I have is wrong. We need to see how we perceive reality in order to say to ourselves, that's not the right way of perceiving. But we need to apply interdependence and all the wisdom within our own ignorance. That's the key that is being brought here to us. Okay? So, that's why also in the teachings of the Kadampa, it is said, your enemy is actually your best friend. Because our enemies are the ones that finally not makes us, but to whom we react with anger, and we get nervous, and we get sad, and all of this. And when our negative emotions appear, is when we can see them, so we can do something about them. Is when our negative emotions manifest, that we can actually say, oh, now I can see you, so I can do something about it. Finally, you appeared. Like if we lie, we somehow lie. How do you say that in English? Lie in ambush, like waiting to attack. So we are there. Okay, I know I have some anger. I have the antidote. I meditate a lot of compassion and love. But I need to see my anger. I'm not able to see it. So when there is a situation that something happened and suddenly it appears, oh, now I can catch it. That's when I should apply compassion. It's easy to apply love and compassion to all of those that are nice to us, no? Where we need to apply, where there is anger. Otherwise, yes, I love all sentient beings. As long as you're nice to me, I love you all. That's easy. We need to really see our own shadow so we can apply light. That's an important thing. So, and what's the root of all suffering? It's ignorance. So we need to see our own ignorance in order to apply the antidote. Okay. So finally, actually with this question we end up the question number 4, which refers to the fact that we need to see our own defilements in order to change. It's not an easy process. One time one disciple in Brazil, he complained a little bit. He said, Lama, I enter the Dharma with so much emphasis and so much enthusiasm, but I never knew it was so difficult, the whole path. You never told me it was difficult. And I told him, because did I ever say it was easy? He said, actually not. But I thought it was easy. I always say, the spiritual path is a path of joy, but that's not the reason why it should be easy. Okay? Without effort, we cannot go anywhere. So, but the wonderful thing is that it is possible. If we start seeing really our own defilements, if we start recognizing our own ignorance and gradually applying the antidote, it is actually possible, and that's the most wonderful aspect. In the text here, I wanted to go through all this, the 27 questions between today and tomorrow. I don't think it will be possible. But very quickly, first it shows us that the essence of Buddha's teachings is to follow the path to enlightenment, to get out of suffering, to nirvana, finally to enlightenment. That the practice is within training, morality, concentration, wisdom. That the root of our samsara is that we need to recognize deeply which is our suffering. The root of samsara is our own ignorance that we need to recognize. And then after that, it's going to go through all the rest process of understanding how is functioning samsara, so that we can have a strong determination to get out, which is the whole process of developing the definitive emergence, which is renunciation, the love towards oneself. So there is a whole part about the 12 links of interdependence, understanding how is functioning samsara. Then there is a whole part regarding bodhicitta, how to develop love towards others. Then there is the whole part regarding how to meditate, how to start meditation, what is meditation, how to meditate on the correct relationship with our guru, which is how to rely correctly upon the guru, how to meditate on the preciousness of this life, on the certainty of death, impermanence, on the taking refuge, on karma. All of this is inside this question. Okay. But the wonderful thing is that all these steps, as we go through it again and again, we see it is possible for us to develop. It's not something so far away. Is it possible to gradually recognize more and more the preciousness of this life? Is it possible to love ourselves better and to love others better? Yes. So it's possible to get out of suffering. We have very powerful tools within our hands. It's a matter of using them or not. But we have all of them, okay, through an uninterrupted lineage. So this makes it very, very precious and powerful medicine. Okay, we do the final dedications for today.
Gyaltsen Lama kotse rapten chi namkar trile cholchur gepada Losang tempe dreme sasongi Drove Michel tato ne gyurch Nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan delekshin Delekpe Concho Sumge Jingi Lob Concho Sumge Tashisho. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the rituals grant us their blessing. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspicious